ugly breakups, battles over creative control, and an unforgivable smirk. Many rock icons went from making beautiful music together to hating one another, and we now know why. The Smashing Pumpkins took the 90s alternative scene by storm with their moody and melodic sounds on classic albums like Siamese Dream and Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Founded by singer and guitarist Billy Corgan, guitarist James Iha, bassist Darcy Wretzky, and drummer Jimmy Chamberlin, the Smashing Pumpkins crafted songs that were staple tunes of the decade, including 1979 and Cherub Rock. But the band's journey wasn't without unrest, and by 1999, personal and professional tensions ran high. Wretzky spoke about this time in an interview with Alternative Nation, saying, "I had 30-plus panic attacks a day. I didn't know what it was. It was terrible." Wretzky parted ways with the group that year. While she admitted that Corgan fired her, she also said she was ready to leave. Corgan, on the other hand, told Billboard in 2004 that Wretzky was let go for, quote, being a mean-spirited drug addict. The Smashing Pumpkins broke up in 2000, but the band has regrouped over the years with different lineups. In 2018, it was announced that Corgan, Iha, and Chamberlin were planning a reunion tour as the Smashing Pumpkins, but Wretzky was not part of the plan. Wretzky and Corgan have different stories about what happened regarding her exclusion from the reunion, and the situation seemed to be serious enough to sever their ties for good.
I don't think the real story is as interesting to people as the story they want.
When asked in a December 2020 interview with Premier Guitar if Wretzky would ever play with the group again, Corgan said, "No, Darcy, that's a dead end. That's what I always tell people. She made it very clear that the bridge is burned." Godsmack frontman Sully Erna isn't exactly alone in his dislike for Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx, but for Sixx, the feeling is definitely mutual. Their feud started in 2009 when Godsmack joined the Crue Fest 2 tour. Erna reportedly didn't like how Godsmack was treated on the tour, particularly how Crue's security interacted with the band. The situation soured in 2010 when Godsmack released the song Crying Like a Erna wrote the lyrics to the song, which were rumored to be about Sixx. Erna wouldn't confirm or deny the rumor, but Godsmack drummer Shannon Larkin shared in an interview with Wyoming radio station Rock 96.7 that certain lyrics were clearly directed at Sixx. The Sixx-Erna beef simmered for a few years, but flared up in 2014 when Sixx claimed that Godsmack begged to be on his radio show, Sixx Sense, to promote their new album. That negative sentiment escalated when Sixx took to his show to say in part, "There's probably 15 festivals that Motley Crue is headlining, and if Godsmack's on them, we're not doing them." As if that wasn't enough to squash any chances of Erna and Sixx mending fences, Erna had some scathing words to say about the bassist in a 2015 episode of The Josta Show. When Sixx's name was brought up, he called the Crue rocker a among other colorful insults. Their feud has died down in the past decade, but there are no signs of an official truce or that the two will work together in the future. Fleetwood Mac is one of the most successful acts in rock history, selling more than 120 million albums across their 5-decade career. The band formed in 1967, but the most iconic lineup came together in 1975 with drummer Mick Fleetwood, keyboardist Christine McVie, bassist John McVie, guitarist Lindsey Buckingham, and singer Stevie Nicks. Nicks and Buckingham were together when they joined the band, but cut romantic ties by 1976. That breakup inspired some of Fleetwood Mac's biggest hits, including Dreams and Go Your Own Way. Nicks and Buckingham spent the next 4 decades maintaining the complex dynamics of their personal and professional relationship, but their collaboration halted in 2018 when Buckingham was fired from Fleetwood Mac. Early reports said his firing was due to a disagreement over tour plans, but tensions between Buckingham and Nicks also led to his exit.
It's a damn shame. It's not what I want.
In an interview with Rolling Stone, Buckingham claimed that the group's manager told him Nicks was done performing with him, citing his behavior at a January 2018 Music Cares benefit show. He reportedly smirked as she gave a thank you speech and wasn't thrilled about the group's intro song being Rhiannon. Nicks delivered her side of the story and made clear that she didn't have Buckingham fired from the group. She did, however, confirm she would not perform with him following the Music Cares benefit. In a statement to Rolling Stone, Nicks said in part, "Frankly, I fired myself. I proactively removed myself from the band at a situation I considered to be toxic to my well-being. I was done." No matter which side you believe, Buckingham remains on the outs, and he and Nicks have not performed together since their falling out. Buckingham says he would join the group again if asked, but the chances of Fleetwood Mac reuniting are slim in light of Christine McVie's passing in 2022.
I would say the band is done.
David Gilmour and Roger Waters were the creative forces behind Pink Floyd, one of the most innovative bands to emerge in the 20th century. Gilmour's virtuosic guitar chops and Waters' lyrical prowess and conceptual vision defined Pink Floyd's progressive sound and shaped the creation of iconic albums like 1973's The Dark Side of the Moon and 1979's The Wall. The English rockers experienced mega success, but behind the scenes, Gilmour and Waters' relationship deteriorated due to artistic disputes and mounting personal tensions. The tipping point came when Waters left the band in 1985 and tried to legally dissolve Pink Floyd after his exit.
And obviously there is no band, it's me.
Their relationship has been riddled with mutual disdain since Waters' departure. While they've briefly tolerated one another for a few performances over the years, it's clear that future collaboration is highly unlikely. The former bandmates have thrown serious jabs at one another in the press, battling over several issues like the future of Pink Floyd. Their infamous feud shows virtually no sign of resolution either. In July 2024, Waters told Reuters that he, Gilmour, and Pink Floyd drummer Nick Mason would not perform together again. And when asked in an October 2024 interview with The Guardian if he would perform on stage with Waters again, Gilmour delivered a firm absolutely not. Brothers John and Tom Fogerty, along with Stu Cook and Doug Clifford, made up Creedence Clearwater Revival, an influential band that crafted hits like Fortunate Son and Bad Moon Rising. CCR saw huge success in the late 60s and early 70s thanks to their progressive and feel-good Bayou sound, but fights over creative control tore the musicians apart. The group called it quits in 1972. The decades following their breakup saw bitter legal battles, fractured relationships, and staunch refusal from John Fogerty to play CCR music or perform with his former bandmates. According to John's autobiography, Fortunate Son, My Life, My Music, he was hurt that Tom, Cook, and Clifford sold their group voting rights to Saul Zaentz, the owner of Fantasy Records who already owned the rights to CCR's music, a situation that devastated John.
Probably any judge that looks at it is going to go, oh, well, they have 3-1 votes, so go do it. But that really betrayed me.
The Fogerty brothers were still at odds when Tom died in 1990. 3 years after his death, CCR was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and asked to perform at the ceremony. John refused to play with Cook and Clifford, and instead performed with Bruce Springsteen and Robbie Robertson. John reflected on this decision in his memoir, writing, "I'm just not going to stand on a stage with those people. 3 in a row, play our songs, and be presented as a band, particularly because these guys just sold their rights in that band to my worst enemy." The band hasn't officially performed together since Tom's wedding in 1980, and while an onstage reunion is unlikely, things seem slightly better between the legendary rockers today. In a 2019 interview with Pop Matters, Clifford said he, Cook, and John Fogerty have a business relationship, but nobody's inviting anybody over for dinner. The Smiths, composed of singer Morrissey, guitarist Johnny Marr, bassist Andy Rourke, and drummer Mike Joyce, burst into the mainstream in the 80s with their groundbreaking indie rock sound and poetically sullen lyrics. Morrissey and Marr shared songwriting duties, collaborating on hits like There Was a Light That Never Goes Out and Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. Despite the band's success and creative harmony, though, the Smiths decided to call it quits in 1987, with Marr parting ways with the band shortly before they officially broke up. Several things led to the Smiths' demise, including a lack of effective management and Marr's desire to pursue different musical ventures. Marr and Morrissey's relationship has been strained since the band broke up, and they've turned down impressive paydays and outright refused to work together over the last few decades. Morrissey even went as far as to tell Uncut in 2006, "I would rather eat my own testicles than reform the Smiths," and that's saying something for a vegetarian. It seems that Morrissey had a change of heart, though. In August 2024, a statement posted on Morrissey's website claimed that he accepted a lucrative offer from AEG Entertainment Group for both him and Marr to reunite as the Smiths and tour in 2025. Marr, however, ignored the offer. Marr's management released a statement to clear the air, in which Marr said, "As for the offer to tour, I didn't ignore the offer. I said no." Chicago scored a slew of hits in the 70s and 80s with songs like If You Leave Me Now and Hard to Say I'm Sorry. Peter Cetera was one of the founding members of the group, playing bass and singing with the horn-infused rock band, but he left the band in 1985.
I didn't really leave Chicago. They sort of forced my hand at that point.
Cetera and Chicago parted ways for several reasons. In a 1986 interview with writer and broadcaster Steve Burgess, Cetera said he wanted more recognition for the work he did in Chicago, but claimed the group didn't want to give him the credits. He also wanted to take time off from Chicago's busy touring commitments to work on his own music, but he couldn't reach an agreement with management about the break. Cetera told For Bass Players Only, "They sort of backed me into a corner, and then gave me a little doorway to get out, and then I took it." Cetera hasn't performed with Chicago since his exit, and he refused to reunite with them for their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony in 2016 due to disagreements about the performance. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame show could have been the last opportunity to see a Cetera-fronted Chicago. The vocalist announced his retirement from performing in November 2019. Hair metal was alive and thriving in the late 80s, and rockers Skid Row skyrocketed to fame during its peak, penning hits like 18 and Life and I Remember You. Frontman Sebastian Bach's powerful vocals and charismatic stage presence captivated audiences, but by the mid-90s, things were souring between group members. The conflict came to a head in 1996, when Bach booked an opening spot on the Kiss reunion tour without informing his bandmates. In an episode of the Steve O's Wild Ride podcast, Bach says bassist Rachel Bolan couldn't commit to the gig because he was working on his side project. Angry about the ordeal, Bach left guitarist Dave Snake Sabo a very nasty voicemail, which led to Bach getting the boot.
And that was the last straw.
Skid Row continues to play without Bach, with new singers gracing the lineup throughout the nearly 3 decades since his departure. A burning question among many Skid Row fans is if Bach will ever reunite with the group. In a May 2024 episode of Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk, Bach said that, from his perspective, there's a good chance of a reunion happening.
There's been attempts to get us going again.
The rest of the band, however, has stayed firm on not collaborating with him. When asked about his thoughts on Bach rejoining the band in a May 2024 episode of the Hook Rocks podcast, Sabo said it wasn't going to happen.